Hey, welcome back to the Paperstac Podcast. My name is 𝗥𝗂𝗿𝗏. This is 𝗵𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏. It has been a while, my friend. I think it's like December. It was the last time we did this. Busy things going on in life. Happy New Year to everybody. I know it's late. It feels weird saying that now, but we had a busy January.
Well, there's a lot of stuff we're working on for Enterprise. So
Enterprise.
You know, it's a lot more outbound trade desk type
snow
stuff.
skiing. I went snowboarding, and so that was out there, which is, man, it's been a while since I did that, but it was a lot of fun.
Not bad.
Yeah, my kids loved it. Other than that, it's been a good start. Good first month. January trading's up.
Yeah,
a lot of people.
Some larger tapes.
Yeah,
if you're a big note investor, so that's fun.
That's a trend that I'm seeing now. Is I've seen a lot of people buying in bigger, like people that were buying onesie twosies are now buying 4 or 5 at a time. Balances are a little smaller, so they're like, well, instead of buying one note for 100 and getting like an 8% or a 9% yield, they're buying 4 of them at 30 grand, and they're getting like that 11 or 12. They're spreading their risk, but they're also increasing their yields. Yeah. So I mean, a little bit different type of assets, but we're seeing a lot of stuff come in. I think
also now that the election's over, people are like, okay, this is what we have to deal with for the next 4 years. This is the playbook, and so now people are starting to get back in the groove.
Definitely, seeing a lot of people buying land notes. People are like, land notes, and then they're like, look, some of them are coming with like guaranteed buybacks for 3-4 years. Yeah. So I mean, that's pretty good stuff.
Yeah, no, it's exciting. Hopefully 2025 is an awesome year.
Yeah, we're looking forward to it. So what do you got for us today? What's on the...
so it's a very interesting question. Docket. So I asked, I'm in a group and on WhatsApp, and I asked, has anybody got any questions, something we want to cover in a podcast? And the question was, how do I create a note on a rental that has a mortgage? And so the way it's worded is really unique because technically it's a wrap, but explaining that in that process, the rental really doesn't...
no, that doesn't. So if you own a property and you're keeping it as a rental, but you want to sell it,
right,
to somebody else, to another investor who wants to keep the renter in place, and you're going to owner finance it to them, the only way to do it's really a wrap. And hopefully you bought it right, and there's a bunch of equity there, and so you're gonna, go ahead and sell it to them at a higher amount than you owe, and you're just going to wrap it. Yeah. That's an interesting thing. Of course, when you sell it, you're going to have to pay off the underlying lien. Right. But so some interesting things to note there is your loan that you're writing it as a first position to that, you're writing a loan to them, but it really will be a second position loan on title until that first position loan is paid off. Right.
The underlying lien. Mm-hmm. So how this works is, imagine the investor is the person with the rental. Right. And they want to sell, they want to create a note on top of that, and then keep the underlying lien, like they're paying whatever, ABC Bank. Sure. And then this person, they're going to make a note to the person who comes along and takes over that rental.
Right. Seeing this a lot, actually. There's a lot of people that were really getting into the rental space. Prices were low. Interest rates were low. Buying right with a low interest rate. Now they're like, well, I want out. What do I do? And they're like, well, I could turn around and sell it, of course. Real estate market seems to have softened a little bit. Things are not moving nearly as fast. No. I mean, not a little bit. It's softened substantially. Maybe not to, it's not a bad thing. It's to a normal real estate market. But how do you tap that equity, or how do you keep the cash flow in there? And this is a great thing I see people doing all the time. Like, look, I got a 3.5% loan, and I got this house at 120. It's worth 220 now. Rents have gone up. I can sell this thing at maybe 230. Have somebody put down 20 or 30 grand, owner finance it. Yeah, I'm cutting down how much I'm into it, getting a big amount up front, and then I'm just collecting. Now I'm collecting 9% on 220. They're going to do what they want to do with the rental. Right, whoever the new investor is, and it's a good ecosystem because it allows people who are looking to get into the rental space, who maybe they can't get bank financing, but they got the money to put down. It allows them that opportunity to jump in there. One thing to note is you got to honor the rental contract that's in there. You can't kick them out.
Yeah, and that's interesting too, because you'd have to make sure that the mortgage is less than the rent. Right.
the
wrap.
Well, sure, and that's one of the great things about doing it is like you can kind of, as the landlord, you probably understand like, look, what's market rent right now? You know, I know this renter. Maybe you've had this renter for 3 or 4 years. You know they're a quality renter,
right?
But you're like, do I really want to write a mortgage on something that's going to be, you know, have them have a mortgage payment that's going to be higher than what they're collecting in rent?
Yeah, no.
No, probably not. But also what you're doing is, you know, if you can figure it out to where you're like, hey, I'm still going to make, you know, the same amount, maybe I'm making more on the mortgage, but now I'm no longer the owner. I'm not having to bear the burden of any repairs.
Right.
And then there's certainly some tax benefits in there. You know,
that.
I'm not a, look, we're going to caveat this, that you're going to go get your own tax advice. I'm not giving you advice on taxes or how you should legally structure anything. But there's a way, if you were to go ahead and sell that, right?
You get capital.
You're going to pay capital gains on it. And depending on how long you've had it, it could be short-term, or it could be long-term capital gains. If you do the owner financing side, you can spread that tax burden out.
Right.
And there's a lot of different options there. It also opens up huge opportunity for selling partials, right?
Right.
I could sell, if maybe I want to sell a partial, I got a 30 grand down and now I want to get, you know, another 20 grand, I can sell a partial on that, and whatever that is, whatever the numbers work out to.
That's pretty interesting.
It does. It opens it up to a lot of different.
Wow, so you can have your underlying mortgage holder, Bank of America, whatever, you got a renter in there, you're paying the mortgage, or them, like $1,000. Now the renter's maybe $1,800. The new guy comes in and he is paying $16, so you're paying off you're still making $6 because you're only paying $1,000, and then you turn around and you can go.
You could. I'm thinking through it. That could get pretty complicated. You may want to pay off the underlying lien if possible. If you're going to do the partial play, that could get potentially sticky.
Yeah, that sounded like you need a diagram for that.
Yeah, it could get potentially sticky. I'm sure there's a legal way to do that. Again, I'm not doing that, so I don't have the exact structure, but that's definitely something I'm seeing people doing. But a lot of times they are actually paying off that underlying lien when they're selling a partial. If they sell enough of the partials is how I've seen them do it.
Right.
Like they'll sell a big enough partial then that they'll take that money, pay off the underlying lien. That loan now becomes first position.
Ah, wow, okay. And then they technically just have a note.
And now they just have a note that's first position note on this.
And then the note holder now has the renter in the house, and they're paying this person, which is now the bank.
Correct. Lots of different stuff there.
There's some creative financing right there.
There is some creative financing. There's some things you want to make sure you do when you're doing this. You want to make sure, like, hey, you're running title. Make sure there's nothing that popped up. You as the landowner or the homeowner should know this.
Right.
But you should always do that, and then document. Make sure that it's disclosed what's going on there. Because if you do a wrap and you don't disclose, I'm sure there's some.
Disclosed to who?
Whoever you're selling the property to. With owner financing.
Oh, that there's an underlying lien?
Yeah, there is an underlying lien. This mortgage will be second position.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. Wow. And why is that so attractive to people? Is there a reason why?
What do you mean?
I just see them a lot on Paperstac, and people buy them all the time. Like it's like we have like.
Buy the wraps?
Yeah, the wraps just go crazy.
They do, but every time they're buying a wrap, the underlying lien's getting paid off.
Right.
So, let's take that scenario. I own a house. I've got a renter in there. Maybe I bought it in 2015. Rates were great. Prices were good. They were on the rise, but they were still really attractive. I had them in there for 4 or 5 years as a rental. Maybe I bought it in 18. Rates were still pretty good. Prices hadn't gone completely bananas. And now I'm like, hey, look, I'm ready to get out of this thing. I owe 80 grand on this thing. The house is worth 230, 240. It might be renting out for 2 grand a month.
Well, okay.
Right? So what am I going to do with it? Well, if I want to sell it, I can go ahead and sell it. Now I'm going to pay the capital gains there. Or I'm going to go ahead and I'll say, you know what, Brett, I'm going to owner finance this to you. You came to me and said, hey, I'm looking for some rentals. Do you have anything? I do. And as a matter of fact, I'll owner finance it to you. I'll sell it to you at 240, put 30 grand down, right? And we'll write you a loan at 210, 8.5%, 9% interest, whatever we come up with, 30 years. good. The renter's got 9 more months. They've been in there for 5 years. You may want to keep them. You may want to not do it. It's up to you. It's not my problem anymore. That's your problem.
Right.
Right? So now I've got this loan. I'm collecting the payments. Maybe I'm seasoning it up for 6 months. And I'm like, you know what? I think I'm going to sell this loan. Right? So I'm going to go ahead and say, well, they maybe owe $209,400 or whatever it is. It's going to be a pretty high principal balance compared to what it is. They put down 30 grand, right? Attractive loan. If it's a qualified buyer, you papered them up right. Well, now I can turn around and sell this thing. Maybe I'm selling it for 180, right? Maybe I'm selling it for 190. Whatever the numbers work out to, whatever the market will bear. So if I owed 80 on that, I'm going to go ahead and pay off the $80,000 out of the proceeds when I sell it on Paperstac, or Paperstac will do that. And then once we have the lien release, we'll release the funds. So then you pocket the 100 plus the 30 that you took in, right? Plus whatever month's payments you've collected.
Yeah.
And you're out of the deal.
It's pretty slick.
Yeah, so it's
kind of like the kind of thing I was talking about with the guy trying to get into notes that has the rentals in Winter Garden.
Sure. Yeah. It happens all the time. It happens with people who are like, look, I'm tired of being a landlord.
That was our exact conversation.
I'm tired of the headaches of being a landlord. I'm tired of the phone calls. It's always something. You get one house, fine. You get 100 doors or 50 doors, 50 houses. If you don't have good infrastructure with a property manager, and then you've got your handyman guy that can go out there, our admin called us today. She's like, I got a leak. She owns her house, but she's like, I got a leak. Do you know a plumber?
Yeah.
Right? That if you got 50 houses, you're getting that call every week.
Yeah. Yeah, this guy has 13. And it just so happened we're at the gym, and he's talking. He's like, I really like, the note space, like what you guys are doing. And I was like, yeah. And he's like,
did you ask him why?
Because he doesn't want to be a lien lord or landlord. He wants to be. And so I said, you should be the lien lord. He's like, oh, that's cool. It's like a lien lord. And I was like, yeah, that's kind of like what people say that in the industry. But and the funny thing is like, well, I want some rentals because of the tax advantages that I could have.
Right.
Because with notes, there's not really any tax advantages, and so. Just shower thoughts, just kind of think, or maybe, I don't know, maybe you said it or something. Somehow I was just like, what? If he owns those free and clear, because he's had them for forever, and he wants to be in notes, why doesn't he just sell, I'll be his borrower.
Yeah.
And then I'll take over the rentals, but the numbers are so...
The numbers just don't...
They're razor thin.
Yeah, here's the thing, and those... I remember those 2 deals you sent me, but they were in areas that are like fringe areas of downtown that are going through change.
Right.
Some high crime areas that are right on the edge of like, look, it's pushing that way, but is it going to push that way in a year? Is it going to push that way where it's going to be redeveloped? Is that going to be a year? Is that going to be 5 years? I don't know.
Right.
And so the rents have not caught up in that area just because the finances don't make sense for the kind of folks who are renting there. They haven't caught up to the values.
Yeah.
Right? You go to other areas and the values have gone up exponentially, but the rents have stayed lockstep with them. It's like, hey, you want to live here, great school district, low crime rate, you're in the suburbs, rents are higher.
Yep.
The values go, so you can support that. That one, the numbers didn't really work out, but it's a great point. There's just a lot of people out there who have had several rentals that they're like, now's the time to cash out. I don't know if I really want to go ahead and sell these and take on that tax burden, because if you got 13 of them and you sell them all,
oh yeah,
you're going to get blasted with the tax burden. Of
that's
course,
why
there's options out there, 1031s and all that stuff, but you're like, hey, maybe I'll go ahead and turn these all into notes. Then I get all the benefits of the cash flow.
Yeah.
Right? I can still milk that cash flow for 3, 4, 5 years. And you're not losing that much on the principal balance in the first 10, right? It's all front end loaded with interest. So I can still enjoy those benefits of the cash flow and figure out, okay, if I do have this, where am I going to put these funds right now? And maybe wait for better economic times. That's another thing. It's like kicking the can down the road.
Yep.
If you want to kind of start taking the burden of ownership off you, but keep the benefits of the cash flow, but you're not in great economic, taxes, maybe the tax rates have changed and you're like, maybe a new administration is going to change how this works. Let's owner finance it. Let's kick the can down the road, and I'll still get the benefits of this. You do lose some of the tax advantages. There's no doubt about it. But it's definitely a strategy I've seen people use, and it seems to be going well.
Yeah, because the other thing too is people don't realize. I don't think notes qualify for 1031 exchanges.
They do not. They do not qualify.
Because they're not technically real estate. So you can't just do that. But doing the seller finance thing was probably the best route.
Yeah, and look, if you're going to do that play, I recommend do it the right way. Spend a little money, have somebody originate it, consult an attorney, make sure you're doing it right. Go through a proper closing with an attorney or a title company, just so you can put out good paper. The worst thing you can do is to take a great portfolio of real estate and then turn it into a crappy portfolio of notes because you didn't do it right. Because then you've just shot yourself in the foot. All the advantages that you're going to have when it comes time to sell it, you're going to be like, man, I'm going to lose money. Or you're not going to lose money, but you're not going to get the premium you could if you would have done it right the first time. Have the proper origination documents. Don't just put any buyer in there. Get a proper borrower. That kind of thing.
That goes for the wraps too.
Oh, 100% with the wraps.
So that was a seller finance play, but the wraps, same thing.
Well, that's what a seller finance. This is all it's all tied together. Yeah. If you're doing a wrap, it's still a seller finance play.
Right.
And then check with your state laws and understand understand the workings of your mortgage. If you turn around and you sell this with owner financing and the deed transfers, understand that there is a chance the bank can call your note due.
That's scary.
Yeah, that is. And there's a lot of people that are the whole subject to.
Yeah.
The whole subject to game that was going on, the banks they're wise to it, and I've heard horror stories of people getting called due.
Really?
Oh yeah. Yeah, the banks are like, no, this changed names, and there's people are trying to use some technicalities or some trusts and stuff like that, but it is a little different. This is, I would say, substantially different because I'm not going to somebody who's got a loan on their house and saying I'll take it subject to this, and then I'm doing an owner finance play with somebody else, and I'm not the one on the hook for the loan. Like if I own a rental and I want to go ahead and sell it with owner financing and there's an underlying lien, like, look, if the first position were to stop paying, it's going to be damaging my credit. So it's a little bit different than the subject to stuff, but just all stuff you want to be aware of is understanding the technicalities. That's why I would always consult an attorney and let them know what you're doing, and pay for the first one, and you're going to say, this is what I'm looking to do with a portfolio, and
they'll learn on the first one.
Yeah, you'll learn on the first one and say, I'll let you do all the closings or something along those lines.
Well, cool. I think,
and then when it's time to sell your loan, you bring it right to Paperstac.
Right.
Because we'll help you with the payoff, and
that's right. That'll be good.
Yep.
I hope. Yeah, that was a good one. That was a good question because the way it was worded was interesting because it's a wrap, but the rental kind of threw a little screw in there. Kind of made like, oh yeah, it's a rental and a wrap, so it's not just that person living in the house.
Yeah, it doesn't change it that much. All it does a couple things. One is it's like, look, there's a contract in there between the landowner or the homeowner and the renter.
Right.
That's got to be honored. But also you can turn that into, it's already a cash flowing asset. Right. So you can back into it and make an attractive yield for somebody if the numbers work, right? Because then they're going to back into their numbers and say, well, I've got 30 grand into this, am I cash flowing, $300 a month? If they're cash flowing $300 a month, you're like, well, there's a 10% yield on a rental.
Yeah, pretty good stuff.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. Well,
we'll actually a little bit higher than that, but
try to be more frequent. We just got a lot of stuff, a lot of balls in the air.
Yeah, we have another one coming up. How to be more efficient with your bidding, so you're not wasting your time, not wasting the seller's time, and how to run the down and dirty due diligence up front, being like, okay, does this make sense? And if you can do that, you can increase your probability of getting a deal closed on the platform, and do more deals with less time is really the goal.
I like that.
Yeah, because a lot of times I see people in there and they're bidding, and I'm like, it looks like they're gonna get there. They're just not asking the right questions up front. And you ask the right questions up front and kind of lay out, this is what I'm looking to do. A lot of times you get the sellers like, yeah, I can work with you on that. Let's put a deal together. When they're on the platform, the sellers are motivated.
Yeah.
You don't typically find somebody who's like, I'm just out here kicking tires trying to see if there's anybody dumb enough to buy this. It's like they got a product that they want to sell.
No, that's true. Because they got to put a little legwork into it too.
Yeah, so there's effort on their part. So if you do a little effort up front, show you're a competent buyer and bidder, then it definitely increases your chances of closing the deal.
Very true. Yep, very true. Well, cool. I guess this is it for this one, and there will be more coming up soon. And we'll see you on the next ones. See ya.
Bye.